What's your main takeaway from this testimony? These two testimonies, I should say.
I think first is that, as they have been saying for a long time, the tightening is going to be very gradual, very gentle, and so they don't want to disrupt the markets. And I think they've done a pretty good job of that so far without causing anything like a taper tantrum. I mean, they're discussing the reduction of the balance sheet and setting that on a path to be a more normal size, probably not till 2020, 2022, something like that. But that hasn't caused the kind of tumult that it did in 2013 when Ben Bernanke started to talk about reducing the pace of increase in the balance sheet.
Randy, you talk about tightening in the sense that we are probably getting maybe 1 or 2 hikes this year. Now, we have, of course, had that $4.1 trillion balance sheet by the Fed. That's going to be brought down as a result of quantitative easing. When they start paying that down, is that quantitative tightening then?
Well, they have been at pains to try to say that this is just happening in the background. They're not saying, they're saying that that's not
quote
part of
unquote, she said policy. It's going to be like paint drying, but some people are not so certain.
Yes. Well, so far, the market has been treating it like paint drying, which is exactly what they want. They don't want tumult to come from this. We've never done something like this before, so we can't say with certainty. But I think so far, the way that they've communicated it, the kind of path that they've structured, it seems to be having relatively little impact on the market. They can just let that go on in the background while they focus more on monetary policy through interest rates.
Randy, if you put together these risks, or risks as I perceive them, very rich valuations, you know, these record highs after record highs, you've got unprecedented QE that needs to be unwound, and Jamie Dimon's saying we don't know what the unwinding looks like, and then you've got a market that is largely kind of shrugging off or sanguine to the potential risks. Do you see kind of a messy unwinding as being a potential that everyone is rather ignoring at the moment?
Well, we're all hoping that it is going to go relatively smoothly, and at least so far, the way that the Fed has described its process, the markets seem to think that's a reasonably smooth way to do it. As I said, we've never done this before, so we don't know. I think one of the reasons why the markets are treating this relatively easily is that the underlying economic growth in the U.S., in China, in most of the world is actually pretty good. This is a different situation than back in 2013 when Ben Bernanke started to talk about the taper, and there's much less certainty about Europe, much less certainty about many other parts of the world.
And Randy, I mean, obviously, as much as the testimony was about the future of monetary policy, it was almost as much about the future of the Fed and the future of Janet Yellen. What do you make of these suggestions that Gary Cohn is the top pick to replace her?
Well, I don't have any particular insights into how the White House is thinking about these things. I can understand how the president would turn to someone like Gary Cohn to be someone whom he trusts, whom he feels has a good feeling for the markets, a good feeling for economics. But we don't really know much about Gary Cohn's views on monetary policy, and so I think that is to be defined as you know, if he does become a prime candidate, we do need to find out more.
Out of 10, how would you rate Janet Yellen very quickly? Does she need replacing?
So I think Janet has done a very good job through a very, very difficult time. And so I can understand how the president would want to put his own person in there. But also you can see that the president hasn't said really anything negative about Janet Yellen since he's become president. He's actually said some positive things about her. So I think it's likely that whoever, if he did choose a replacement, that person would probably broadly have the similar kind of policy approach that Janet Yellen has had.